Hello there, welcome to my channel. Beneath the endless blue of our planet lies a world of silence. It stretches farther than the highest mountains, deeper than the tallest clouds. For most of human history, it has been a mystery, a realm untouched, unseen, and unimagined. Yet it covers more than two-thirds of the earth. It is the deep sea, the largest and least explored wilderness on our planet. At the surface, the ocean sparkles with sunlight. Waves move like breathing glass, reflecting the golden warmth of day. The air carries the scent of salt and wind, and life here is abundant. Dolphins glide through rolling swells, seabirds dive for shimmering fish, and coral reefs bloom in color just below. But this world of light is only the beginning. As we descend, each meter carries us further away from the familiar. The sunlight weakens, the colors fade. Red is the first to vanish, absorbed by the water. Then orange, then yellow. Within 100 meters, only blue remains. A deep, liquid twilight. The sea grows colder. The surface sounds, the whisper of waves, the hum of wind, fade into stillness. The world slows, and we begin to enter the mesopelagic zone, often called the twilight zone, where light begins to die, but life endures. Here, strange creatures drift through a dim, endless dusk. Their forms seem otherworldly. Transparent bodies, unblinking eyes, slow movements in weightless grace. Small plankton flicker faintly, releasing glows of green and blue as they rise from the depths. Each spark of light is a conversation, a signal, a warning, a lure. This is not the darkness of emptiness. It is the darkness of creation. Every night, billions of tiny animals make the greatest migration on Earth. From the depths, they ascend toward the surface to feed, rising hundreds of meters as the sun sets. When morning comes, they sink again, retreating into safety. This daily rhythm, unseen by almost all who live above, has continued for millions of years. It connects the upper and lower oceans like a heartbeat. Among these drifting travelers is the lanternfish, one of the most abundant creatures on the planet. Its body glimmers with tiny organs that produce light, guiding it through the night. Individually small, collectively they move in vast swarms that stretch for miles. A living constellation beneath the sea. Nearby, the hatchetfish floats with its mirrored scales angled perfectly to reflect what little light remains above. It is invisible, blending into the dim shimmer, proof that in the deep sea, survival belongs to those who master illusion. Deeper still, a faint glow pulses in the distance. It comes from the calm jelly, a fragile being of pure transparency. It moves not by swimming, but by rippling rows of cilia along its body, scattering light into rainbows as it drifts. Each movement is hypnotic, silent, rhythmic, eternal. At this depth, we are already beyond the reach of all natural light. Yet everywhere, things glow. The ocean has become a galaxy of living stars, flickering, fading, appearing again. A slow dance of luminescent signals in a world without sun. It is hard not to feel small here, surrounded by endless blackness and creatures that seem more like dreams than animals. Every flicker of light tells a story of adaptation. For life in the deep, light is a language, used to hunt, to hide, to love. Some emit light to attract prey, others to confuse it. Some use it to find partners, and some to vanish completely, matching the faint shimmer above to become invisible. The deeper we go, the more alien the life becomes. The viperfish with its needle-like teeth. The dragonfish, its jaw glowing with blue fire. The snipe eel, long and ribbon-like, twisting gracefully through the current. Each of them has evolved for a world without sun, a world shaped not by warmth, but by pressure, darkness, and time. And time moves differently here. In the upper ocean, life races, a constant struggle of speed and competition. Down here, it slows. The cold water and crushing depths demand patience. Movement is rare. Hunger is controlled. Energy is sacred. Creatures wait for hours, even days, before striking. For in a world where food is scarce, every motion must count. If we stop and listen, truly listen, we begin to hear the ocean's breath. Not sound, but rhythm. The slow pulse of water moving in vast currents that circle the globe. It connects the poles to the equator, the surface to the abyss, carrying warmth, oxygen, and life. The deep sea is not separate from the world above. It is the foundation that holds it. Now, as we sink past 1,000 meters, the last traces of sunlight vanish entirely. We are entering the midnight zone, a place of absolute darkness. The pressure here is immense, hundreds of times greater than at the surface. A human body would collapse in an instant. Yet even here, life not only survives, it flourishes. The anglerfish waits motionless in the gloom, its body small, its mouth enormous. From its forehead grows a delicate filament ending in a glowing orb. It sways gently, a tiny light in the dark. Curious prey approach, mistaking it for food, until the jaws open and silence returns. Its light is not its own, but the work of tiny bacteria living inside. Together, they share a mutual life, one offering safety, the other brilliance. Nearby drifts the vampire squid, elegant and slow, its body the color of midnight wine. Despite its name, it feeds on the gentle snow that falls from above, flakes of detritus, the remains of plankton and life long gone. It spreads its webbed arms to catch this falling rain, living peacefully in a world without haste. This marine snow is the ocean's memory, the remnants of the surface world slowly settling into the abyss. Over time, it will feed entire ecosystems. Even in death, the ocean recycles life endlessly. Everything here has adapted to scarcity. The gulper eel can open its mouth wide enough to swallow prey larger than itself, a necessity when food may come only once in weeks. The rat-tailed fish wanders slowly along the seafloor, its long tail trailing behind like a ribbon of patience. And always the lights, faint, shifting, alive. Each creature is an answer to the same question: how does life continue when all that defines life, light, warmth, movement, is gone? The answer lies not in strength, but in stillness, in balance, in quiet endurance. As we drift deeper still, the temperature falls close to freezing. The pressure rises to crushing levels. Yet around us, the water is calm, almost timeless. The deep sea does not rush. It waits. It breathes in centuries. Every motion here feels sacred. Every flicker of light, every ripple of water carries purpose. We are now approaching the abyss, a world where the seafloor stretches for thousands of miles, unseen and untouched. A world that has existed for longer than human civilization itself. And what lies ahead is something even stranger. A place where darkness meets fire, where the earth itself breathes life. The descent ends not in emptiness, but in revelation. After miles of sinking silence, The ocean floor unfolds like an alien landscape, a realm sculpted by time, pressure, and the quiet work of the earth itself. We have reached the abyssal plain, a vast expanse of fine sediment stretching farther than the eye can see, though here there are no eyes to see it. The ground lies beneath nearly 4 kilometers of crushing water. It is cold, dark, and still. For centuries, this place was thought to be lifeless. Scientists once believed nothing could exist under such crushing weight and eternal night. Yet when the first submersibles descended here, they found something that changed our understanding of life forever. Amid the emptiness, faint plumes of smoke rise from the seafloor, columns of shimmering heat twisting up through the water. They are the hydrothermal vents, the lungs of the Earth's crust. Around them, the water is boiling hot, yet only a few meters away, it is near freezing. Minerals spew out in black, glittering clouds, staining the surrounding water like ink, and where these vents breathe, life gathers in abundance. White crabs crawl across rocky chimneys. Giant tube worms sway gently, their crimson plumes open like flowers in an unseen breeze. Ghostly shrimp swarm in shimmering clouds, their pale bodies reflecting the faint metallic light. Here, in a world without sunlight, life is powered by chemistry instead of light. At the surface, plants and algae capture energy from the sun, the foundation of all food webs. But in the deep sea, bacteria perform the same miracle using minerals. They feed on hydrogen sulfide, the toxic gas pouring from the vents, and transform it into living energy. This is chemosynthesis, the twin of photosynthesis. From poison, they create nourishment. From fire, they make life. The tube worms have no mouth, no stomach, no digestive organs. Inside their bodies live millions of these bacteria. Together, they form one being. The worm offers shelter. The bacteria provide food. It is a partnership older than memory, an alliance born in the darkest corners of the earth. The vent fields glow faintly, illuminated by life itself, small creatures flickering like embers in the underwater night. It is as if the planet's core, hidden for billions of years, has found a way to speak through them. Even here, among boiling vents and poisonous gas, life is not only possible, it is beautiful. Around the vents, the terrain rises in towers of black stone. They are called black smokers because of the dark clouds they emit, not smoke, but fine particles of metal rich with iron, copper, and zinc. Over centuries, they grow into spires reaching several meters high. Some fall, others rise anew. The seafloor here is alive, ever-changing, and yet, in this world of extremes, there is peace. The tube worms do not move. The crabs wander slowly, brushing through the mineral dust. The water hums softly with the low vibration of the earth's heartbeat. Even in this violent beauty, there is serenity. A reminder that balance is not the absence of chaos, but its quiet harmony. The vent fields are temporary. After decades, sometimes centuries, they die, their heat fading, their minerals spent. And when they go cold, the creatures that depend on them vanish. But life finds a way. New vents open elsewhere, miles away. The bacteria drift, carried by unseen currents, and start again. The cycle continues. Death feeding birth, darkness feeding light. The deep sea teaches us something profound, that even in the most unlikely places, life persists not because it conquers, but because it adapts. Beyond the vents, the seafloor becomes quieter again. The water cools. The heat fades into stillness. Here, only faint traces of life remain. The slow-moving starfish, the deep sea cucumber gliding silently across the sand, the spider crab exploring its desolate domain. Occasionally, the remains of a whale descend from the upper world. When such a giant falls, it becomes a feast that can last for decades. At first, scavengers arrive, hagfish and rat-tails, stripping the flesh away. Later come worms and snails that feed on the bones themselves, drawing energy from the oils locked deep within. Entire communities depend on these fallen titans. The whale falls, each one a temporary oasis in an eternal desert. Even death sustains life here. In this way, the deep ocean is not a graveyard, but a cycle, a silent engine of renewal. Above us lies a ceiling of blackness, so complete that time itself feels different. Days and nights have no meaning. Only the slow drift of the current, the faint shimmer of falling snow, the distant pulse of an unseen world remind us that we are still connected. The ocean floor stretches beyond imagination. In some places, it drops even deeper, into trenches that cut into the Earth's crust like scars. These are the Hadal zones, named after the ancient underworld, places so deep that even the abyss seems shallow in comparison. Here, we find depths beyond 10,000 meters. And so we descend once more toward the final mystery. The descent resumes. Beneath us, the ocean floor falls away into an unseen chasm, a rift so vast it feels as though the planet itself is opening. We enter the Hadal zone, the final frontier of the deep. 10 kilometers of water pressed down from above. The weight here is beyond comprehension, more than 1,000 times the pressure at the surface. Metal groans, glass would shatter. Yet the water itself, perfectly dense and ancient, holds the silence as if protecting something sacred. In this kingdom of blackness, sunlight has never arrived. It has never even dreamed of reaching here. Still, life persists. The walls of the Mariana Trench rise around us like mountains turned upside down. Their slopes are draped in silt, each grain a relic of life that once drifted far above. As we glide deeper, faint sparks shimmer against the rock, specks of movement. Living ghosts in a place where nothing should be. Tiny amphipods dart in and out of cracks, their translucent bodies almost invisible. They feed on the eternal rain of organic dust, fragments of plankton, fish scales, and microscopic remnants of every ocean creature that ever lived. Each particle, small as it is, carries the story of the surface world down into eternity. Here, time slows into eternity. The current barely moves. The temperature is near freezing, yet stable. Nothing rushes, nothing wastes. Life endures not by fighting the environment, but by yielding to it completely. From the shadows, a shape emerges. A snailfish, pale and delicate, its body soft as silk. It moves gracefully through the crushing dark, unhurried, perfectly at home. It is one of the deepest living fish known to science, found in trenches over 8,000 meters below. Where bones would snap and lungs would burst, it drifts effortlessly. Its tissues adapted to pressure, its heart beating slowly, calmly, endlessly. Every movement here is an act of quiet defiance. In the narrow valleys of the Hadal trenches, strange formations rise from the mud. Mounds built by bacteria that feed on minerals seeping from the Earth's crust. Around them gather clusters of worms and shrimp, pale as moonlight. They depend entirely on these unseen microbes, the architects of survival. It is astonishing how in this place where no light, no warmth, no sound can reach, life has found another way. Pressure here does not destroy, it sculpts. Silence here is not absence, it is order. And darkness in the deep sea is not death, it is simply another kind of light. We hover near a canyon wall, and for a moment the submersible lights reveal fossils embedded in the rock. Remnants of ancient shells from creatures that once lived at the surface millions of years ago. The Earth itself remembers. Even here, at the planet's lowest point, the memory of sunlight remains, locked in stone. Farther along the trench floor, we see the tracks of an unseen traveller. A slow, looping trail pressed into the silt. Perhaps a sea cucumber passed this way days ago, or perhaps months. Time here leaves no markers. Everything moves in cycles too slow for human eyes. A faint sound trembles through the hole, not from the machine, but from the earth. A deep, resonant vibration. Down here, tectonic plates meet and grind, shaping the world above without ever being seen. Volcanoes, earthquakes, mountains, all begin with movements like this far below the light. It is a humbling thought that the deepest silence gives birth to the greatest change. The Puerto Rico Trench, on the other side of the world, mirrors this same mystery. In its hidden folds, fields of microbial mats glow faintly, feeding on methane that seeps through the crust. These communities form islands of life in an otherwise barren desert, each one a reminder that creation does not end where sunlight fades. It simply changes its source. In the Tonga Trench, earthquakes have carved cliffs higher than Everest turned upside down. Here, the water is heavy with minerals, and strange creatures drift like falling leaves. A jellyfish, thin as paper, pulses with soft blue light. Another follows, its long tendrils glistening with tiny sparks. Bioluminescence, once thought to belong only to the upper twilight zones, appears even here. Somehow, light returns to the darkness. It is not the kind of light that guides eyes or warms skin. It is the kind that reminds the universe of its own existence. A flicker that says, "I am here." When we pause to watch one of these tiny beings drift by, we realize that life's meaning has little to do with scale. To a creature that fits inside a drop of water, the vast trench is a universe. And within that universe, every movement, every shimmer, every heartbeat matters. As we continue along the trench floor, particles drift like snow, the constant rain of life from above. Each flake is a farewell from the world of light and an offering to the dark. Somewhere far above, waves are breaking, storms are forming, and continents are shifting, but none of it reaches here. Here there is only stillness and the slow rhythm of creation in its quietest form. After miles of silent travel, we approach the deepest point known to humankind, Challenger Deep. It lies nearly 11 kilometers beneath the surface, the farthest edge of the Earth's ocean. There is no sound here but the hum of our own breath, no light but what we bring. And yet, this is not emptiness. The sediment is alive with microscopic bacteria, countless in number. They break down the faintest remains, recycling what little energy still lingers. Even at the world's deepest floor, life continues its gentle, endless labor. The ocean has no end. It folds into itself, a living, breathing system that connects mountain to trench, cloud to current, death to rebirth. Every drop of water here has travelled the planet, perhaps many times. And so, we drift in the quiet realization that this dark abyss, the place we once imagined lifeless, is perhaps the most alive of all. Because here, in the stillness, we can finally see what life truly is: not movement or light or sound, but persistence. From the crushing silence of the Hadal depths, we begin our slow ascent. The pressure eases with every meter, though it remains immense, a force that has shaped life into forms of quiet perfection. Above us, the ocean stretches endlessly, layer upon layer of mystery. The lightless plain below fades into blue shadow. We are leaving behind the still world of eternal darkness, returning to the slow pulse of the planet, a rhythm that connects every sea, every current, every drop of water. The ocean is not static, it breathes. Across the globe, invisible rivers of water flow within it, colossal streams of motion that travel for thousands of miles. These are the thermohaline currents, the deep conveyor belts of the world's oceans. They are driven by differences in temperature and salt, rising and sinking like the slow breath of the planet itself. Cold, heavy water from the poles sinks into the depths, sliding along the seafloor like a ghostly tide. Warm surface waters drift toward the poles to take its place. The cycle is constant, steady, ancient, a heartbeat that has shaped climate, weather, and life since the birth of the seas. We follow this invisible current as it weaves through valleys of darkness. It carries oxygen and nutrients gathered from the upper ocean, a lifeline for creatures that will never see the sun. Even in the deep, the current brings whispers of life. Tiny organisms drift in its wake, copepods, larvae, and single-celled travelers whose journeys may last years. They are the unseen migrants of the sea, carried across the world in silence. The current curls through canyons, over ridges, around seamounts that rise like forgotten islands from the abyss. Each mountain teems with life. Corals that feed on passing plankton, crabs and brittle stars clinging to the rock, their delicate arms reaching for invisible food. Some of these corals are ancient beyond imagination. Slowly growing year after year, they can live for thousands of years. Their skeletons record the chemistry of the water around them, a living memory of the ocean's changing moods. They are the archives of the deep, preserving stories from before humanity existed. As the current rises, we pass through mid-ocean ridges, vast chains of volcanic mountains that encircle the planet like a hidden spine. From cracks in the crust, warm water seeps out, mixing with the cold around it. It carries minerals and nutrients that feed unseen ecosystems, stirring the deep into motion. Here the ocean whispers its past. It remembers the heat of the Earth's birth, the slow cooling of stone, the long rhythm of creation and decay. Every current, every shift of water, carries a trace of that memory. The deeper we listen, the more we realize that the ocean does not simply contain life. It is life. Its movements are the circulation of the planet's body, the steady rhythm that connects every living thing. Even the smallest plankton at the surface, glowing faintly in the moonlight, depends on this deep exchange. Without the upward flow of nutrients from the abyss, the bright world above would fade. Everything, from the whale to the smallest microbe, is part of this slow, endless conversation between surface and depth. As we rise through the water, faint flashes begin to reappear around us, the first hints of bioluminescence from the twilight zone. It feels like emerging into a galaxy of stars. Each light flickers independently, yet together they form a silent orchestra of motion and rhythm. Some lights pulse in steady intervals, others shimmer in waves. A deep sea jelly drifts by, its tendrils glowing in a spiral of emerald and blue. The effect is hypnotic, as though the universe itself were breathing through them. In truth, it is. The laws that govern the movement of galaxies, gravity, pressure, flow, are mirrored here in the smallest eddy of water. The patterns of the cosmos repeat themselves, from the vastness of the sky to the quiet depths of the sea. Perhaps that is why we find peace in watching water move. It reminds us of something older than thought, a rhythm we have always known. Rising further, we encounter the midwater giants, creatures that migrate up and down through hundreds of meters each day. A swarm of squid glides past, their bodies glowing faintly. Above them, a large shadow moves, the graceful form of a sperm whale. It descends in slow, confident motions, its huge body silent but powerful. Few animals venture this deep, yet the whale comes here regularly in search of its elusive prey, the giant squid. Its clicks echo softly through the water, pulses of sound used to navigate and communicate. Each click travels for miles, bouncing off unseen objects, mapping the darkness through echoes. It is one of the most haunting sounds in nature, not noise, but a conversation between leviathans. Then, as quietly as it came, the whale vanishes into the blue below, leaving only stillness in its wake. The ocean swallows all sound eventually. Even the songs of whales become whispers here, gentle ripples in the vast silence. We are now surrounded once again by the mesopelagic realm, the twilight zone. It is neither dark nor light, a world caught between two realities. Here the colours are softer, the water warmer. Faint rays of sunlight filter down from above, mingling with the glow of bioluminescent life. Every particle suspended here carries the history of both worlds, the memories of the deep and the energy of the light. If we listen closely, we can almost hear the currents speak, a voice made not of words, but of movement. It tells the story of balance, of how every element of this planet depends on another. The current flows endlessly, carrying warmth from the tropics to the poles, nutrients from the deep to the surface, and stories from the past to the future. It is, in every sense, the memory of the world. As we ascend higher, the blue grows brighter, shapes become clearer, the pressure lessens, the deep, which once seemed infinite, begins to release us back into the light. Yet something within us remains changed. For once you have seen the dark heart of the ocean, the surface can never look the same again. Because now, when we see the sunlight shimmering on the waves, we know what lies beneath, a vast living network, silent and eternal, carrying the memory of everything that ever was. The blue is changing. From the dim glow of the twilight zone, the colours begin to bloom once again. Faint shafts of sunlight stretch down through the water, golden ribbons descending like messengers from another world. They shimmer, scatter, and dance across drifting plankton, particles of life suspended between sea and sky. we are rising through the final layers of the ocean, leaving behind the mysteries of the deep. The surface is still far above, yet its light has already begun to paint the water with a soft, silver calm. After the long journey through the darkness, the light feels different. Warmer, alive, almost sentient. This is the epipelagic zone, the sunlit realm where life first began to flourish. Here, the ocean hums with movement. Microscopic algae bloom in vast clouds, turning sunlight into energy. The foundation of all marine life. Tiny creatures feed upon them. Small fish feed upon those, and the great hunters follow the chain, each link bound to the next by the quiet necessity of survival. Everywhere there is purpose. A school of sardines flashes like liquid metal, turning as one in a dance of instinct and light. A sea turtle glides effortlessly past, its flippers moving with slow grace. Far below, the shadows of larger beings drift. Dolphins weaving through the silver veil of bubbles, their clicks and whistles echoing softly through the water. They move not in chaos, but in harmony, a rhythm older than memory. Each movement, each flick of a fin, carries the wisdom of generations. They are guided by currents, by temperature, by invisible magnetic lines that circle the planet. Even without maps or compasses, they always find their way. It is as though the ocean itself whispers directions, a voice too vast for us to hear, yet clear to those who belong to it. And then, at last, we break through the surface, a sudden explosion of light, air, and sound. The quiet pressure of the deep gives way to open space, the endless horizon of sky meeting sea. For a moment, everything stands still. The waves rise and fall in gentle rhythm, and the sunlight scatters across the surface like a million diamonds. The air tastes of salt and warmth. Above, seabirds wheel and cry, their wings tracing graceful arcs across the sky. It is difficult to believe that just beneath this tranquil surface lies a universe of darkness, pressure, and silence, a world that sustains the very life we see before us. Here, in the open sea, all of Earth's elements converge. The warmth of the sun, the breath of the wind, the pull of the moon. Together they shape the rhythm of the tides. So each wave that rises and falls is the echo of an ancient harmony, linking the ocean to the cosmos itself. Even now, unseen beneath us, the deep currents we once followed continue their journey, carrying warmth from the equator to the poles, whispering through the canyons of the abyss, stirring life where none should exist. The ocean remembers. It remembers the first cell that divided in its depths, the first creature that learned to swim, the first coral that built a reef. It has witnessed every dawn, every storm, every silent night. It has carried the remains of continents and the whispers of extinct species. Yet it endures, timeless, resilient, patient. In its stillness, the ocean teaches us something rare. It shows us that peace is not the absence of movement, but the balance within it. Beneath the waves, nothing is ever truly still, yet everything flows in harmony. Even the smallest ripple on the surface may begin as a whisper in the deep. A single current can travel the world, shaping coastlines, feeding life, and guiding weather patterns. In this way, the ocean mirrors the essence of existence itself, that every small act, every motion, becomes part of a greater whole. The sun begins to set now, turning the water to gold. The horizon glows with fading light, and the sea, calm and infinite, breathes softly once more. Beneath the surface, as night falls, the world transforms again. Bioluminescent plankton rise to meet the starlight, glowing like drifting constellations. Each pulse of blue light is both ancient and ephemeral, a quiet reminder that even in darkness, beauty endures. The waves lap gently against the invisible boundaries of the world. A whale exhales in the distance, a sound so low and pure it seems to echo from another time. Then silence again, vast and complete. The ocean, in all its depth and wonder, is both a mystery and a mirror. To gaze into it is to look not just into water, but into the memory of the earth itself. It reflects our beginnings, our fragility, and our connection to everything that moves and breathes. And perhaps that is why its sound soothes us. When we listen to the sea, the rhythm of waves, the hush of currents, the endless heartbeat beneath, we are hearing the pulse of life itself. For all our science and exploration, we have only just begun to understand it. Yet even now, standing on the shore or drifting above its blue expanse, we feel its truth, that we are not apart from it, but of it. The sea does not ask for recognition. It simply is. It moves, it gives, it endures. And in its endurance we find serenity. So as the night deepens and the stars appear above the horizon, the ocean stretches out below, infinite, eternal, and alive. A world of secrets, beauty, and calm. A reminder that even in the vastness of creation, peace can be found in the quiet motion of a single wave. And so our journey ends where it began, not in discovery, but in understanding. The deep sea keeps its secrets, yet it shares with us something greater, the comfort of knowing that we are part of a living, breathing planet, a blue world, adrift in the cosmos, alive with mystery, rhythm, and grace.